Hello and welcome to Asia Society at the National Gallery of Victoria and to our program exploring new skills for the Lunar New Year. Today we set out to practice mindfulness and movement through the martial art of Taekwondo. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are speaking to you from the land of Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. And I would like to welcome and acknowledge any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people watching today. So here we are at the start of a Lunar New Year, the year of the ox, after one of the most challenging periods in recent history. At Asia Society, it's our mission to prepare Australian leaders and community for sustained engagement with Asia. After such a physically and mentally taxing 2020, we're committed to finding new, fun, inspiring and energizing ways to retain our connection with the region. We're bringing you today's program in partnership with the National Gallery of Victoria. Here, as we are surrounded by the architectural installation of world-renowned architect Kengo Kuma and local artist Geoff Nees, with the stunning contemplative work Dialogue by Korean artist Lee Ufan directly behind me. We hope to nourish both mind and body as we deep dive into the traditional Korean martial art of Taekwondo. We are joined today by Master Robert Pace, an Australian Taekwondo champion with over 40 years in the sport. Master Pace has trained with the best grandmasters from South Korea and beyond, competed across the region, and is here to share with us the origins, ethos, and some basics of Taekwondo for you to try at home. Learn more about Master Pace and his Taekwondo partner, Virina Malandra, in the description below. Before we get into the action though, let's explore the art of Taekwondo and its roots a little further. Hi Robert, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
What is Taekwondo and what are its origins?
Well, Taekwondo is a Korean martial art. It's practiced all around the world. There's at least 200 member nations that participate in Taekwondo. Its origins are Korean, and its origins date back hundreds of years through both indigenous Korean culture and the wider Asian culture. So it has its origins both in indigenous martial arts like Taekwondo, and that was actually a martial game that was played in the 1800s and before that. And it also has links to Chinese martial arts and Okinawan martial arts. So a lot of the systems and the nature of the uniforms and so forth come from a little bit from the Okinawan side of things. So yeah, that's basically what the origins of Taekwondo are.
Thank you. And now Taekwondo is an Olympic international sport, but there remains a strong connection to South Korea. Can you tell us a little bit about how South Korea views Taekwondo?
Well, in South Korea, it's the national sport. So it's practiced in, as far as I understand, all high schools and universities. Many of the Olympic Taekwondo players derive their skills from their high school and university studies and training. You can even do a doctorate, if you like, in Taekwondo. So there are a number of universities that offer that.
Thank you. And you were an international athlete and you represented Australia on many occasions in international competition, but you also trained in South Korea. And what are some of the lessons that you learned in South Korea that you sort of carry with yourself to this day?
Well, I was fortunate enough to train in South Korea for a number of times. And originally, my first trip to Korea in, I think it was 1991, was to train the fighting skills of Taekwondo. As a younger player, I was a sparring athlete. So when I went to Korea, I trained at a number of the universities and even some of the high schools because they had the best national coaches, and actually the national Olympic coach was the coach of one of the high school teams. So one of the things that I really found quite interesting from one of the sparring coaches at the time was the fact that he would tell me, look, you should be able to do any technique or any kicking technique from any position. And I was thinking, but I'm in this awkward position. How am I going to kick someone towards the head and be in this position? And he said, I don't care, you have to do it. So it's trying to find your way through things that was quite interesting, particularly in those days. Of recent times, I've been going to Korea to train and compete in what's called poomsae, which is the demonstration of form and technique and mindfulness, and showing how you combine basic movements into a combination which not only looks appealing and somewhat artistic, but also has its origins in self-defense. So when you look through the layers, you can see numbers of different applications of all the movements, which is really interesting. And I remember one of my coaches of late, when I was in Korea, one of the Grand Masters I was training with, he once said to me, not many people understand the movement, what this movement is actually all about. And from that point on, I made it a priority of mine to actually try to understand deeply every single movement that I'm actually performing, and not just doing it superficially.
Well, you spoke about mindfulness. We're sitting in front of this incredible artwork by South Korean artist Lee Ufan, and that explores temporality, body and mindfulness and associations between them. What role does mindfulness and self-awareness and self-discipline play in Taekwondo? And can you speak a little bit about Taekwondo as philosophy, not just a martial art?
Well, the main philosophy of Taekwondo is self-development, really, to develop your mind and your body so that you can improve and become a better human being. There are a number of different codes by which Taekwondo players and instructors have to follow. So basically, when training for mindfulness, we don't actually train for mindfulness as such, but it's integral in what we do. Let's say, for example, when I'm doing the poomsae or the technical activities, when you start your movement, you actually gather your thoughts by breathing and allowing yourself to get ready for the whole set of movements that you're about to do. And it somewhat represents, I guess it sounds a little bit strange, but getting ready for battle, if you like. Your mind has to be completely clear before you start your activity. If you're thinking about this and that, you're not going to be completely focused. So the mindfulness element for me comes through that, and also the self-discipline element. There are many layers to that. The self-discipline component, you can consider it also as being the precision. Every single movement that you do, particularly in the Taekwondo form work, involves precision. So if I were competing in Taekwondo poomsae, which I've done many times, a single error of a position, instead of it being here, it's down here, will be deducted. So you really have to be mindful of, okay, where is my hand? Where is my foot being placed? I remember when I competed in Mexico in the World Championships in the poomsae element, the first action I did, I turned towards the left side, and immediately I realized that the whole wall was a TV screen, and they were focusing on my left foot and my left foot position, and I'm thinking, wow, it is really intense. So yes, you need to be able to focus on your positioning, actions, breathing, and combine it into one continuous flowing element.
Well, thank you very much, Robert, for joining us today, and I want to hand over this session to you to show us the art of Taekwondo in practice. And to our audiences at home, I would like to invite you to join us in this session and practice, or at least try to practice, this incredible art of Taekwondo with us. Thank you.
Okay, 차렷, 그녀. Turn face front. 차렷, 그녀. Okay, good morning. My name's Robert Pace. I'm from Pace Taekwondo. Verena, who is just here, he's going to help me out in certain elements of a basic class that I'll be running just to go through some of the very basic elements of Taekwondo. So there are a number of elements that we could cover, and we would be here all week if we did them all, but I'll just go through a few of the basic movements. So first of all, whenever we start a class, we start off with a bow, just as I demonstrated before. And in Korean, we say the term chariot, which actually means attention. So when we're at attention, we have our feet together, hands by our sides, and we bow. So we bend from the hip, and we bow gently. Okay? So it is a sign of respect. So whenever we bow, we don't bow and look at the person we're bowing at, because that's not really very respectful. So we bow our head down. So we always start our class with a bow. The first action that we normally go through is what we call a ready position, and this is where we gather our thoughts before we start any other element of training. So the ready position is actually called chumbi, which actually just literally means ready in Korean. So the ready position looks like this. The standard ready position, in fact, looks like this. Breathe in and breathe out. So just once again, left foot moves out about 1 foot distance apart, and it takes about 5 seconds. And out. So I'll try it again. Charit, chumbi. So breathe in and breathe out, so you're relaxed. The next movement we'll go through is a punching action. But when we practice our techniques from a stable position. So we practice it from what we call a horse riding stance. Okay, so as the name suggests, the position you take if you're riding a horse. So you'll move your left foot out and extend, punching with your right hand. So the horse riding stance is about 2 shoulder widths apart, or probably really 2 foot widths apart, or foot lengths apart. And knees stay bent in order to get a solid base and develop the quadriceps. From there, the punching action. When we do our basic punch, we aim our punch at solar plexus height. So we're lucky when we have a uniform like this. This little badge in the middle usually signifies where the solar plexus is. And that, in fact, is if you feel your breastbone, as soon as the breastbone starts to turn into cartilage, that's really roughly where the solar plexus is. So when we do our punch, we have our wrists straight. Wrist is straight. So if we had our wrist bent this way, your fist could get rotated. If you bend it this way, you could hurt your wrist. So when we punch, we bring our hand back to the hip. Okay, this is the basic action, just the basic action. You may ask, why are we bringing our hand back to our hip? Well, there's a number of reasons. One being balance. When you punch, you're getting balanced action. But really, you're not going to, in a fighting situation, you're not going to bring your hand back to the hip, because it's really not effective. You're actually very open. So it actually represents something like, okay, I'm fighting someone and I'm bringing the hand down out the way. Drag the hand down out the way so I have access to a target. So for example, if someone's got their hand up, they're doing a punch, you grab the hand out the way, bring the hand back towards your hip, dropping their guard, and you're striking. So that's why. So if anyone asks you, why does karate, taekwondo, why do they bring the hand back to the hip? That's really one of the main reasons. So when we do the punch, remember, aim at solar plexus, strike, strike. So the coordination's a little bit difficult. So remember, supporting hand, palm up. Wrist bone at hip bone. Changing, changing. So if I count, I'll do a 5 count in Korean. Everything is done in Korean counting. So 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯. And we also do face punch, which is aimed at philtrum height. So forth. Same action, just striking up a little bit higher. Okay, so that's the basic punching routine. We also have blocking actions. The basic block, the first block that we teach people, is called aremaki. Aremaki. Maki just means block. Are just means lower region. So you're blocking towards the lower region. Okay, so from a hand out position, we just drop that hand down, supporting hand, comes up to the shoulder, just that, round about the shoulder joint, not any higher, but the palm faces towards your ear. Bring it down, but at the same time, the other hand comes back to the hip. So a bit of coordination required here. Up and down. So when I teach this, especially to children, what I say, okay, start off, first step, up, down, up, down, up, down. Next step, hand out, up to the shoulder, down, back, up, down, back, up, down, back. The next step would be up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay? And then the whole action. Hana, dul, se, net, dasso. So basically, aremaki. The term aremaki, as I said, means block. But remember, the blocking action can actually double up in a number of ways. So it can be blocking a kick and can be doing other things. So this is where I'll call in Verena to assist. So if in a fighting situation, basically, first application being the basic one, someone may do a kick towards your stomach and you're in a fighting situation, and as they kick, you actually just block it down. Okay? So from here, that's the basic action. Okay? But as I said, there are a number of layers here. So instead of just being a blocking action where you're blocking a kick or a punch, you can actually take it to the next level. In a fighting situation, someone's striking you this way, and you can take it down. This action representing taking the guard down, out the way, to give me access to punch through. So as I said, you're in the situation where clinch, take it down, strike. So that's another application. Another one, there are lots of them, another one being someone grabbing you by the wrist. In this position here, you can change the grip, bring up. Remember, the lower block, 1, 2. So I can come in, bring up, and strike down. Yeah, so from here, as they're grabbing, change the grip, strike down. Yeah, okay, thank you, Brandon. So there are a number of different components to every single action we do. So that's the basic lower block. There is outside block, there is body block, and as I said, there's lots of applications for all of these movements. Base block, yeah, and there's a minor outside block. Okay, you're not going to generally block any strike this way, but that has other applications which can be taught, which are taught. Okay, so they're the basic actions of basic blocks and basic punch. So from here we go back to our ready position, regather our thoughts, and relax. The next action we'll go through is a basic kick. So Taekwondo is renowned for its kicking techniques. That's one of the main things that distinguishes Taekwondo from many other martial arts. So I'll only go through one kicking technique, and that's called up chagi. Up just means front. Chagi means kick. So the up chagi, when we do it, again we go formally from our attention position, so chario, chumbi, and we move back to our kicking stance, which is right foot back and hands up. Okay, so up chagi looks something like this. So if I'm doing it side on, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I teach this action from a fighting position, knee comes up, kick out, back, and down. So a lot of the exercises we do, we start off with balance exercises. So we get used to keeping the leg up so that we can do proper form. You're kicking with the ball of the foot. Unfortunately, I'm wearing kicking shoes today, but normally when we train barefoot, the toes are bent up. So you're kicking with the ball of the foot, aiming normally towards the stomach area. As a self-defense action, if kicking towards the groin, you would have kick with the instep, so the top of the foot. So a lot of variations on it. So we practice with both legs. So I'll do 5 on each leg by count. Hana, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯. And when we change feet, we actually change dynamically into a fighting position. Left leg back, kick. 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯. And 바로 regather our thoughts. Breathing. And sure. Sure just means relax. Okay. In Taekwondo, there are 2 elements to it in general. There's the fighting element and the form work element. The form work element is where you're demonstrating your techniques and how they flow. Okay, the fighting elements, you'll see that that's Olympic Taekwondo, where you see people kicking and so forth. They're wearing body protectors, head guards, electronic scoring and so forth. I'm going to be demonstrating, in fact, a poomsae routine. The poomsae routine is called Chongkwon. Okay, it actually relates to a heavenly spirit coming down. If you read the origins of that form, so the line of the form forms a capital T, and in Chinese it actually follows a Chinese character. So the movement. There are about 20 movements or so, but the action starts off again gathering your thoughts, but in a different way. The basic ready position comes in this way, but this ready position is a little bit different, has a different application. So I'm just going to demonstrate the routine, so I'll come back a little bit. So chariot, whenever we start, we bow. 그냥. 준비. 시작. Burrow. And sure. Okay. Well, that was a very, very brief introduction into Taekwondo. I hope you got something out of it. And just a reminder, Verino and I are from Pace Taekwondo, we're a small club in Melbourne. So we'll bow. Charit, Kanye. Charit. Thank you.